On March 10th, 2009, Michael Kenneth McClendon murdered his mother, shot the family dogs, and lit the house on fire. He then got in his car and started hunting down his family. He brought 4 loaded weapons and over 200 rounds of ammunition. The rampage lasted 47 minutes and stretched across 3 towns in southern Alabama, ending in a shootout with police at a factory where he once worked. 10 people were murdered, 6 more injured, and a quiet community was left with questions no one could answer. This is the story of Michael Kenneth McClendon in one of the deadliest mass shootings in Alabama's history. Michael Kenneth McClendon was born on September 19, 1980. He grew up in southern Alabama, mostly in the small town of Kingston. He often stayed with relatives close by in Samson. After his parents divorced, he lived full-time with his mother, Lisa McClendon. They shared a modest home near the edge of town, a quiet street, small yard, and no neighbors close by. He was a good student, respectful, and not a troublemaker. In high school, he played baseball and made straight A's. He wasn't popular, but he wasn't a threat either. He graduated from Samson High in 1999. No college, no girlfriend, and really no plans. Instead, the next 10 years were marked by movement and failure. In 2003, he was fired from Reliable Products, a metal plant in Javina. That same year, he entered the Alabama Police Academy, but only lasted 1 week due to not being able to meet the requirements. Later, he applied to the U.S. Marine Corps, but didn't pass basic training. In 2006, he worked at Pilgrim's Pride, a poultry plant in Enterprise. Both he and his mother were suspended, and they filed a lawsuit claiming unpaid wages. In 2007, he was hired at Kelly Foods in Elba. It was one of the only jobs he kept for more than a year. There, he was promoted to team leader, and his coworkers described him as respectful, quiet, and reliable. But then one day, he vanished. On March 4th, 2009, just 6 days before the massacre, he clocked out for lunch and never returned. No warning, no call, nothing. At that point, McClendon was 28, unemployed, alone, and living at home with his mother. No criminal record, no girlfriend, no kids, and no plans. To everyone on the outside, he was just quiet. But inside that house, something deadly was building. After he walked off the job at Kelly Foods, McClendon barely left the house. He spent his days inside, alone with his mother and 4 dogs. McClendon had grown silent, withdrawn, and virtually unreachable. But behind the quiet closed door, he was building something destructive. This wasn't a hobby, it was a system. He owned a Soviet SKS rifle, a Bushmaster XM-15, a 38 caliber handgun, and a 12-gauge pump shotgun. He practiced with weapons regularly. He knew how to load, clear, and fire. And he wasn't just collecting for defense, he was packing. On March 9th, 2009, the day before the killings, McClendon told his mother that he wasn't going back to work. He said that something didn't feel right. And then, he started loading his car. Tactical clothing, military gear, medical kits, 4 firearms. In his bedroom, police would later find a handwritten note. In it, he admitted to the killing of his mother, and said that they had both suffered enough. Also in the note, he blamed Lisa's side of the family for turning against him. He also referenced a family Bible, a disputed heirloom he believed had been stolen from him. It was petty, but to him, it mattered. The note wasn't a manifesto. It wasn't even coherent, but it made one thing very, very clear. He did not plan to survive the day. March 10th, 2009, at 3:30 p.m. in Kinston, Alabama. A house fire is reported on Pullum Street. Inside, police later find Lisa McClendon shot at close range, her body placed on the couch and paint thinner poured over her. The 4 family dogs, all shot, and laid around her. The fire was set intentionally. The killer was already gone, reportedly driving a red Mitsubishi Eclipse, headed south towards Samson. At 3:45 p.m. in Samson, Alabama, McClendon pulled up to his uncle's house. James and Phyllis White lived there, just blocks away from downtown. Sitting on the front porch were James White, his daughter Tracy Wise, Tracy's 15-year-old son Dean, family friend Andrea Myers, and Andrea's 2 daughters, 18-month-old Corinne and 3-month-old Ella. McClendon stepped out of his car and opened fire. James, Tracy, Dean, Andrea, and baby Corinne were all killed instantly. Ella was hit in the groin, but she survived. Inside the house, Andrea's 4-year-old son had hidden. He had survived, uninjured. As the gunfire stopped, Phyllis White, McClendon's aunt, ran next door to her mother's trailer. McClendon followed and shot his 74-year-old grandmother, Virginia White, in the doorway. Then he got back in his car and kept driving. At 4:01 p.m. at the Big Little Store gas station, just down the road in Sampson, McClendon saw 43-year-old Sonia Smith as she stepped outside. He fired from the car, and she was killed on the spot. Greg McCullough was at the pump. A bullet shattered his windshield, sending glass into his face and his arm. He was injured, but survived. McClendon cleared a jam in the rifle and moved on. At 4:12 p.m. on Highway 52, Bruce Malloy, 51, was driving west. McClendon pulled alongside and fired through the window. Malloy died at the wheel. Minutes later, he would spot 24-year-old James Starling walking on foot. Starling worked at Dollar General, and he never saw it coming. Shot in the back and killed instantly. The coroner later calling it a cowardly act. After that, McClendon continued east, toward Javina, firing at random cars. Witnesses reported shots at a Walmart truck, a Piggly Wiggly, and a True Value hardware store. Inside the stores, chaos, glass, and screams. No one knew where the bullets were coming from. The police were already chasing him at this point. An Alabama state trooper attempted a pit maneuver, and McClendon fired 7 shots into the cruiser. The officer wasn't hit, though. At 4:15 p.m. in Javina, Alabama, McClendon reached Reliable Products, the same factory that fired him in 2003. He exited the vehicle and opened fire on the police, firing over 30 rounds. Javina Police Chief Frankie Lindsay was shot in the shoulder, and Lieutenant Ricky Morgan was injured by flying glass. After a shootout with police, McClendon then entered the building and took his own life, with a single gunshot wound to the head. At 4:17 p.m., exactly 47 minutes after it began, the massacre was finally over. The rampage lasted 47 minutes and stretched across 3 towns, leaving 10 dead and multiple others injured. Lisa McClendon, James White, Tracy Wise, Dean Wise, Andrea Myers, Corinne Myers, Virginia White, Sonia Smith, Bruce Malloy, and James Starling, all shot and killed for no reason at all. The survivors of this tragedy were as follows: Ella Myers, Greg McCullough, Jeffrey Nelson, Mike Gillis, Frankie Lindsay, and Ricky Morgan, all injured but not killed by McClendon. 10 dead, 6 wounded, and dozens more traumatized, and a quiet region in Alabama scared forever. This wasn't about a manifesto either. There was no live stream and no message to the world. Just a burned house, a letter, and a list of names no one would ever fully understand. There was no motive ever confirmed, no trial, no last interview, and no chance to ask why. What's left is silence, and a number: 10 murdered and multiple others injured, 47 minutes and 3 towns. One of the deadliest mass shootings in Alabama's history. Hello everyone. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching another one of my videos. And if you happen to be new to the channel, welcome. I try to post new videos every Thursday around 6 to 7 p.m. EST. If you got any recommendations for future topics or cases, drop them in the comments below and I'll get to them there. And if you happen to enjoy this one, please like, comment, and maybe even consider subscribing. It really helps boost the channel and it gets these stories in front of more people. Thank you guys for all the support recently. I greatly appreciate it. That's all I've got for this one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.